Boy, oh boy, this is really important because people who know what their natural strengths are and use them in the context of their work, they use them every day. Research shows that they perform better, they get promotions faster. Hey badasses, welcome back to the Badass Careers YouTube channel, where every single video takes you one step closer to building a career and life that you love. So I've got a question for you. Do you know what your strengths are? Would you be able to describe in detail your unique gifts, talents, what sets you apart, what makes you different? If you're answering no, not at all, or kind of, well, this is the video for you, because we're definitely going to get you started on these kinds of questions and you'll have a much better idea of not just the generic things that everyone says they're good at, like I'm a people person, but what you are specifically good at. Boy, oh boy, this is really important. It's really important for you and it's really important for the companies that you work for too, because people who know what their natural strengths are and use them in the context of their work, they use them every day, they're 6 times more engaged in their work and they're 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life. Research shows that they perform better, they get promotions faster, they even have less on-the-job accidents. Like, I guess it's a bit harder to trip over by the water cooler when you're so stoked with what you're doing every day. And it's also really, really important to understand what your strengths are from a recruitment perspective, because they form the core pillars of your unique personal brand. I can tell you, when I was working as a recruiter, especially on graduate programs where all of the CVs were starting to look really, really similar, my eyes would almost start to just glaze over when I'd open a new job application, because they'd all say the same things, that they were uniquely qualified for the role because they're a great communicator who loves people, who can work well both individually and in a team. It almost started to feel like you're just reading a whole bunch of cliches. So when you can tap into your strengths and you actually communicate those, and they're part of your pitch, they're part of your brand, they're going to be there in your cover letter, they're going to be there in your CV, on your LinkedIn, and it's actually going to sound like you. Like if a friend or family member read your CV or read your LinkedIn profile, they'd be like, yeah, that's you. But before we dive into understanding exactly how to understand what our strengths are, let's get crystal clear for a moment on what a strength is. So a strength is a natural underlying talent mixed with experience, skills, and knowledge, okay? So it's things that come naturally to you, but you've also got to use it. And once you apply a strength, something that comes naturally to you like that, you'll find that you're able to acquire skills in that area really quickly, faster than the average. And because it comes naturally to you, you'll usually find that it's also very, very satisfying work as well when you're doing work that's in line with your strengths. And what's really interesting is that even though we're evolving a lot as people, we change, our experience change, we do lots of different things in life, our strengths, our underlying core strengths, tend to stay relatively stable because they've usually been shaped over many, many years, all the way back to when you were a kid. So a strength is definitely not something like good with people, okay? So it's a lot deeper than that. Maybe you're good with people because you have this innate ability to really step into the shoes of other people and almost be able to read their mind, almost be able to feel exactly what they're feeling. So they'll be talking to you about a problem and you'll just find the words and they'll be like, I couldn't find the word, but yes, that's it. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Your strength here is empathy. So having a very in tune, natural sense of empathy can be a strength, for example. And what that can do is make you good with people, yes. It can make you a great listener. It can make you a great salesperson. It could make you an excellent writer and author. So there are many talents and expressions of the strength, but the strength itself is empathy. That's the true driver. So how do you know what your strengths are? Well, there are 3 main ways to figure it out. Number 1 is looking back at your past experiences for clues. And here are a few prompts just to get you thinking. You might want to, pause this video after each question and write down some notes as you go. But what's really important that you don't do is self-edit. Don't try and come up with the perfect response. Write down the first thing that comes to your mind, no matter how messy or strange it might seem. We're not looking for perfect answers, we're looking for real ones. So let's dive into a few of these prompts. What do people come to you for advice or assistance with? So what we're trying to understand here is what people have already identified you as an expert in. Because if you find that someone's always coming to you for career advice, or they're always coming to you to help them to organize their weddings and birthday parties and events and that kind of thing, that's really interesting information. So you should capture that down. The next is what kind of skills or knowledge seem to come quite naturally to you. So without a lot of studying, without a lot of coaching, without having to work really, really hard, what tends to come to you relatively quickly, maybe quicker than the average? So what do you tend to see or understand quicker than most people? The next is think about the last time that you were really immersed in something. You were in a state of flow, which was when you're so consumed by what you're working on that time just seemed to disappear. Just time was flying by without you even noticing it. What were you doing the last time you were in a state of flow? The next one, how would your best friend describe you? And what do people tend to compliment you on or give you positive feedback on? Are there any themes and patterns coming up? And what are you doing when you're feeling most alive or energized at work? What are your favorite parts of the job? Why do you think that is? When you're answering questions like this, it's really important to take your time, and as I said, don't self-edit, just let it all come out, stream of consciousness. But when you're going back to your answers, it's really interesting to see if there are any themes or patterns. Now, if you're interested in doing an actual activity like this is the whole first week is dedicated to this in my free course, Find My Why. So Find My Why is a step-by-step guide to helping you find your career purpose. And the first week is all about your innate talents, your strengths, your natural abilities, that kind of thing. So these kinds of exercises, I have these workbooks and there's other things to do in there too. If you're interested in going further and learning more, it could really, really help you out. So I'll leave that link for you down below in the description box. And I'll also link down to the video that I did on career purpose more generally so that you can see it in context. The second way to understand what your strengths are is just to ask. And I know that it can be a bit strange or scary to be that vulnerable and put yourself out there, but what I would really recommend is sending a text message. Honestly, it can be as simple as that, or an email to 5 people that you really trust and respect. They can be colleagues, friends, family members. And you can ask them something like, when have you seen me at my best? Like, can you describe a time where you saw me and I was obviously in my element? You could even just straight up ask them, what do you think that I do better than the average person? And for those people actually wanting to go to the next level, and I actually recommend that you do this anyway before your annual performance review and that kind of thing, but you could actually create an anonymous survey using a free tool like Typeform, for example, or SurveyMonkey. And you can send out an anonymous survey with some questions about, hey, I won't be able to tell who answered this or what you as an individual answered, but I'm just trying to collect some feedback on my year. You can ask, where have I really excelled this year? Where have you seen me at my best? And how would you recommend that I take myself to the next level for next year? Something like that. And what you would really want to focus on is, again, themes and patterns and where you've excelled, like what kind of people were around you, what was the environment, what skills were you using, because that will help you to kind of understand when you're at your best and maybe a bit more about why, and uncovering those deeper strengths that you're using in the moment. The third way to understand what your strengths are to actually do an official diagnostic. So there are strengths diagnostics out there, and I used to use them a lot when I was an HR manager for a big Fortune 500 company, and we would use it to help really high potential up and coming leaders to figure out what their strengths were so that they could get the most out of their careers. And the tool we used is called Gallup Strengths Finder, and I'm actually a certified coach in Gallup Strengths Finder, so I know a little bit about how it works. But before we understand how it works, we kind of have to understand a little bit about how the brain works. So bear with me for a minute. So to keep it really simple, our brain is made up of billions and billions of neurons, and neurons are cells that just look like billions and billions of little pathways in the brain. And at the end of these neurons are synapses. And so when an area of the brain is being used, the synapses are firing to each other, from one neuron to the other. They're sending electrical currents to each other so that they can talk together and work together. But the plot twist is that every single time a neuron is used and a current goes through the neuron, it deposits a layer of a fatty acid called myelin, and that's conductive. So every single time it's used, you get another layer and another layer. So a pathway eventually becomes like a giant highway. So it's like the difference between 90s dial-up and high-speed fiber optic broadband. So the neurons that you've been using your whole life, and most often ever since you were a child, over time they become super conductive, and it's easy for the signals to pass through, and it's easy for the brain to use. So obviously you tend to be a bit quicker using these big highways rather than using these sort of backcountry pathways in other parts of your brain. And of course, we're lucky enough to have neuroplasticity, so the brain can change, and we can grow and develop. And likewise, if we don't use areas of the brain, they can die off. But the thing is, our brains love to conserve energy. It takes a lot of energy to run a brain. And so if they can find an easier pathway to take, they'll take it. It's like the path of least resistance, because obviously it's going to be so much harder taking a windy little pathway or even building a road from scratch than it is to just default to that nice big sealed highway that you could just zoom along. And so what these diagnostics are doing is that they're designed in a way, they're questionnaires and they're timed, so they're tapping into your fastest gut response. So they're trying to tap into these highways in your brain actually. And so the way that they work is that they're really trying to draw out the things that come quicker to you than the average person. So if you have any questions about that and you would like to do the diagnostic or a debrief with me, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, or you can email me at hello@badasscareers.com and we can chat further. Otherwise, I'll leave the link to the Gallup website down below and you can check it out yourself. So guys, I hope it's been really useful in understanding how you can figure out what your unique super strengths are. And if you're someone who cares about your career, why don't you go hit the subscribe button so that we can navigate this crazy world of work together. So until next time, stay badass, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.